My name is Ashraf Jamal. I am a South African visiting Doha for the first time in my life. I'm here to see Abdul Rahman Saleh's African art collection, and that's what I'd like to discuss. Firstly, it's remarkable that an Arab man should spend so much time, devote so much passion to sub-Saharan Africa, a place that's largely seen by the Arab world as a terra incognita, as a realm of the unknown, of little interest, because primarily it's the Arab world in the north and cravenly Europe, which is seen to be the great center of attraction. Otherwise, the look goes eastward. But Africa itself, as we know, is going through a boom time in terms of a global art market. And in this regard, Abdul Rahman has demonstrated an incredible, innovative intelligence. Not only has he gone through to various dealerships to buy established canonical African art, but he has traveled widely across the country to many different, across the continent to many different countries, seen artists in their studios, spoken to dealers there, and bought art that intuitively was connected to his vision of a world that was hidden, undisclosed, and yet to be revealed globally. So in his collection, you see an enormous variety, some works of remarkable beauty, but overall, the energy and the taste is impeccable. And what is most exciting about it is that so many artists are unknown to the marketplace, yet to be revealed. And this revelation is our adventure, our joint adventure. We're here through the ARAK Collection, to bring forward to the world a collection of books, a series of traveling exhibitions that actually centers around the idea of the Gulf's inquiry into Africa. And in that regard, this adventure in art is incredibly inspiring. The range of works is immensely diverse. But it broadly works within the spectrum of abstraction, figuration, landscapes, urban scenes, or peri-urban or rural scenes. So the idea is to show the spectrum of the continent as a world that is highly urbanized, but also highly rural. The urbanized vision comes through the famous term which Achille Mbembe uses, called Afropolitanism, which deals with the idea of the urban street smarts and how Black narratives get explored and expressed through art. But at the same time, there's also a keen, acute sense to materiality, to the mediums used, most importantly, to upcycling and recycling raw materials or waste materials. Because of course, oil paints are expensive, canvases are expensive. So it's understandable that many African artists have found alternative materials as vehicles through which to express their art. So one sees this in the usage of the waste and recycled paper that's used as surfaces. It's not the conventional canvas. It's whatever is there that is beautiful. But the key thing about the collection, that it's largely paintings or minimally relief works. Abdul Rahman is not focused on sculpture. He's focused very much on wall works as the dominant focus point, which is understandable because it is much more easily mobile, movable, transportable. Now, the key thing with these works, they ask the key question: what is Africa? Africa, as we know, is made up of 54 countries. Africa is a space which is not as Pan-African as we like to think of it. It's not an essential space, and it's certainly not, after George W. Bush, a country. It's a complex space in which the sub-Saharan component has been the primary focus of Abdul Rahman Saleh's collection. One of the things that I'm going to be participating in the next few months is developing the conversation in Doha about culture, its mobility, its changes and differences. And one way we're going to do that is through a series of colloquia where we get thinkers and discussing what it is that matters most. How do we redefine existing power structures, change the way people interact, and most importantly, how people grow to love art more and more and more? How we grow new collectives? How do we deal with the idea of modernity and the new styles and innovations generated through youth and foreground those? How do we change the canon? How do we change the value system? And how, most importantly, do we create a living community in love with art? Thankfully, I've been able to visit universities that focus on art and design, museums that focus on the history of the evolution and creation of modern Doha. I've visited and discussed intensively with the young intelligentsia and art makers around the story of how to create a sense of a city in the Gulf and a city in the world. The thing that has struck me most and I've enjoyed most about the space is not only the architectural beauty and innovation and design, but those who have been centrally responsible to creating it. Those visionaries in the cultural department, those workers who've been participating in the creation of some of the most astonishing sites and locales in the region. Here, the fascinating thing and statistic that I learned was that there are 3 million people in Doha, of which the Qataris comprise 11% of that aggregate. What's intriguing, therefore, is that there's a substantial body of the people who inhabit Doha are people who come from elsewhere. And it's this wonderful cosmopolitan energy that I find especially intriguing. A world within a world in which East and West intersect, a world in which the ancient movement along the Silk Road and along the maritime world of the Indian Ocean are manifested again and again and again in a world that remains intensely alive and intensely complex, in which the idea of humanity and the idea of culture are richly imbricated, connected, and developed and grown.